I've posted before on the construction style in Seoul, throughout South Korea, but particularly in Seoul. And one point that I've emphasized is there is a lot of cement in this city, in this country. You know, Republic of Korea, ROK, maybe Republic of Concrete. In any case, I'm going to bike along under the Olympic the Olympic Expressway, just to give you sort of a sense of the scale. I mean, you know, concrete is used everywhere, obviously, but it is a particularly popular building material here. Now, one thing that caught my interest this morning was there was a newspaper article in the Korea Herald saying that wood is coming back into fashion as an architectural material. Of course, wood and paper and stone were the primary building materials for traditional Korean houses, Hanok. The stones would serve as a foundation, but the house itself was constructed of wood beams, clay too, to form walls, and then hanji, paper doors, paper pasted onto the walls, and old style hanok, sometimes the ondol, the floor, the special heated floor system that they used, would just be bare wood. Sometimes it would be papered over with a sort of waxy paper, plastic these days. But at some point after the Korean War, particularly from around the 1970s, cement became an extraordinarily popular building material. Now, one might think that's because of its permanence, which is not the case, because a lot of these buildings go up, then get torn down. They have a 20 to 30 year lifespan, a lot of them. But other constructions, like the Olympic Expressway, they stick around for a while. They're built to last. And now you're going to get a sense of the scale of it.